So scout with the first Marine, then have a 1050 plus concussive shells push at 6 minutes with your second gas starting at 6:30 and your factory starting at 6:30 or earlier if you decide not to do the poke at all. Don't build your racks in such a way where you need to float it in order to make the add-on. This is like the 800th time in a row you've done that. Very annoying. The first Marine scouts no saved chrono, 2 gases. This seems kind of like DTs. This looks very familiar. It turned out not to be DTs, but it did seem a lot like DTs. I suspect this was a 2-gate robo expand where you denied the expansion by making the poke. So that's good. You actually delayed his expansion quite a bit. So now he not only doesn't have a big army, but he doesn't have the Nexus that he was saving up to get. So this is really good. You put him really far behind. Second portion of the build is the 9-minute and 25-second push across the field for a 10-minute all-in with 3,500, including resources and 15 SCVs that nothing can possibly stop if you did the poke early enough. So right now you have the big enough army. Your army is big enough, but you're not in his base. So if you look, he has $2,300 army against your 3,200 plus 16 SCVs is 800 more, so 4,000. You would have literally double his army size if you had pushed at the appropriate time. So delaying the push equals bad. This map is actually one that I thumbs down specifically because of TVP, because in Masters League, Protoss players can defend this choke, and it takes you forever to get down it. And then they'll back up and defend this choke, and it'll take you forever to get up it. And then they'll back up and defend this choke, and it'll take you forever to get down. And then they'll defend this choke, and so on and so forth. And with so many chokes for them to delay your army, you end up not having the fight until really late. So anyway, it's 11 minutes instead of 10, which means he's got his second Colossus already almost out. This is bad. You still have $1,000 of army size advantage. And you notice, the reason that we go for 10 minutes as a timing is because they will tend to have these upgrades not completed yet, right? He's waiting for the upgrades to complete. He's giving you the Nexus because he can't afford to fight before those upgrades complete. And you're not taking it. You're not taking the Nexus. You're treating this like a tank push. This is not a tank push. You can win these fights with unsieged tanks. And while it's not theoretically ideal, it's better to run in there without tanks being sieged and rely on your Marines, which are actually the strength of this push, to kill him, than it is to sit back and defend your siege tanks. Defending your siege tanks is what you want to do once he has 2 Colossus out, like he does now. Or what you want to do against somebody who's making tons and tons of sentries. Or what you want to do once you're already in a position where you have a bigger income than him because you killed his Nexus. And now there's no rush, so I'll just sit behind my siege tanks. But there is a rush, to have that first engagement, to get in there and take down his Nexus. And what is important isn't so much killing the Nexus as it is having the fight. If you let him get 3 Colossus with Thermal Lance before you have the fight, it's hard to win the fight because he can just kill all this stuff from 9 range away. So I don't see a lot of ways for you to be able to kill those Colossus with 9 range and 3 of them. So you're kind of screwed at this point. Right? And this is a pretty common way to lose TVP doing this. Basically, this is just a passivity fail. And we've talked a lot about passivity fails in TVZ. But TVP is the same thing. It's just compressed, right? There's a clock. At 10 minutes, you will always have a lead. If you watch any replay of any of your games where you hit the benchmark properly and look at what the Protoss has at 10 minutes, you will win the theory craft. Theoretically, you win. So the longer you go past 10 minutes with him still mining and still teching, the less likely you are to win that game. So having the first engagement all the way down at 11 minutes is already a big problem, but then at 11 minutes you didn't have a first engagement. You showed him what you're doing and then waited for him to respond. You didn't even kill the Nexus, and he let you. He ran away, went up the ramp. As soon as he went up that ramp, you should have contained him on that ramp. It's like, wow. So you wait and wait and wait until he has 3 Colossus and Thermal Lance and comes and kills you. So it's actually 13 minutes before you even fight. So again, just passivity fail. I would say that you would have definitely won this game if you pushed earlier. And then once you got here, don't even siege up the tanks. Just go all the way in and chase his army back and kill his army. And if he goes up the main ramp, that's when you siege up. You siege up in such a way that the white line from your selected siege tanks just covers the bottom of his ramp. Or maybe like covers the middle of his ramp. And then everything else you have stays back here with the siege tanks, like just barely in front of them, knocking down the Nexus. Because it's cool to try to make him run into your siege tanks. But you can't just let him have double your income while you do that. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway.